Now, you're here for the good trash, okay? You came into this tonight, and you're like, are we going to watch the Matt Walsh, Dr. Phil, infuriating gender discussion? And you're goddamn right we are. You're goddamn right we're going to watch that tonight. Nice little YouTube video about Matt Walsh going on Dr. Phil. Matt Walsh, if you don't know, is the least likable person on in humanity, I think. Of all the people in humanity, I think Matt Walsh would tick the fewest boxes in the likability category if polled by literally every member of humanity. Like, if you could somehow, like, hey, here's Matt Walsh, and then just speed date the entire human race with every other person, Matt Walsh would have the lowest overall grade. I think that's a fact. So this is him arguing with, I believe, this person. So let's see.
I'm Addison.
And I'm Ethan.
We've been together for about
5 years.
And
Been
married.
married for 3 years.
I use they, them pronouns. Being non-binary just means that I just don't identify with the gender I was assigned at birth, and I don't identify exclusively with being...
I have no problem with this. It's interesting that, like, some people see Addison
a man or
and are
woman.
like, wow, they have a beard, but they look pretty. What pee-pee do? And like, it just makes them so upsetty spaghetti over it. But it's like, does Addison look like they're harming anybody by being who they are? Like, what do you mean?
Something in between, outside of that binary.
Like, just seems like a nice person.
They also identify as a non-binary. To me, being a non-binary means having the sense of freedom to explore my gender in whichever way I want. I don't have to perform or pretend to be someone that I'm not. I can be my authentic self.
It's really important for us to
Yeah,
share
this
more
is
information
nice.
with people because people are curious. They want to understand, but sometimes they don't always have the opportunities to do that.
This is a hot topic.
Yes.
That's a good thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why is it a good thing?
I guess because it creates dialogue and it invites
Damn, that is a powerful look. Holy shit.
conversation to learn about other people.
Give me a little coppies in chat for all our just because this is probably going to be an annoying conversation. Coppies in chat for every one of you that is in chat right now that is gender nonconforming. Hell yeah, dude. Matt Walsh does suck, obviously. You know that coming in, though. So shouldn't be that hard of a conversation. Should be fun. But it will suck, though. He's going to be a butthole the whole time. And not a fun butthole. An ugly, bearded butthole. Actually, bearded butthole sounds okay, too.
people.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are really confused about gender identity.
I think so, too. Ariel, thanks so much for the 100 biddies.
Times, and it's good for us to have these conversations so people open their minds and relearn and unlearn to what we've been taught.
Right. And Addison, many people think gender pronouns are exclusive to the LGBTQ plus community, but that's a misconception, true?
Yeah. Well, everybody has pronouns. Like, you may use he and him as your pronouns, right? I use they and them as my pronouns. We all may have a certain gender pronoun too, but I think it's important for people to understand that for trans and non-binary people, we often change our pronouns to reflect who we are when we come out
Their hair is really pretty, I
and be
agree.
who we are.
How do you,
Nick, thanks so much for giving it a VIN.
you explain the difference between
Wait, is Dr. Phil facilitating actual good? I mean, he always has both sides on for these kind of topics. It just depends on which way he fires at them. You know what I mean? If he gives people a fair shake, it usually turns out good. I don't think Dr. Phil on national television is going to come out anti-trans. I think he knows the way that society is going, and he likes money. So, subtitles? Yeah, sure.
sex and gender?
I consider sex to be our biological makeup. Our chromosomes, or hormones, our genitals is a biological makeup.
Yep.
But our gender is more of an internal sense. So think of
Easy.
it like this.
This is so easy. Like, I don't understand how people don't get it. They go, like, Matt's going to come in here and go, like, no, you're a man. Like, but what's Matt going to say to the other person who had top surgery, but Matt probably doesn't know that and passes as a guy, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is a non-binary trans man, as he/they said that they identified, right? So, like, what's he going to do? Because trans men often fuck up transphobe arguments because they don't realize that it's not just like in their heads, dudes cutting off their dicks. You know what I mean? Like gender runs an entirely complex gamut of human experience. And I guess I really don't know what their umbrage is. It always comes out as repackaged homophobia, but what are they, like, when they really think, like, alone to themselves, what are transphobes, like, concerned about? Because I know they say that they worry about, like, women's rights, but, like, there's no rights of women being violated, nor do they seem to care when it actually comes to it, especially not the British TERFs, right? Like, what is the actual thing? Because no more PP change is scary. I think quite literally, I think it's, I don't understand this, it must be bad. Because they're just dumb boys. But usually, I'm going to be honest, usually when you talk to an offline right-winger, like, or a centrist or a liberal, and they just, like, don't get the whole trans thing, you know, you've heard your relatives say that. I just don't get the whole trans thing. Usually when you explain it to them, they go, oh, okay. And then they don't give a shit. You know what I mean? And then they just go, and then they'll do that thing where, you know how boomers are often, and even your, like, liberal or, like, the good ones in the boomer group, sometimes they're, like, a little bit ist towards something. Like, they're a little bit, like, homophobic, they're a little bit racist, they're a little bit, but it's not, like, a lot. It's just, like, that sort of, like, we'll call it innocent, but it still sucks. That sort of, like, oh, he's so well spoken, and it's like a black guy or something, and they just do that little racism, or they'll do, like, a little homophobia. Oh, like, oh, I didn't even know you were gay. Like, they still do that kind of stuff. Like, oh, he looks so pretty, and it's like, she, mom, she, where they were trying their best, but they were suck at it, you know? I feel like most right-wingers, even right-wingers, if they're offline, are, when met with this conversation, go, okay, I don't get it, but I don't really care. Yeah, microaggressions, sure, but microaggressions is sort of like, I don't know, that's a whinier version of what I was saying. Microaggressions are weird, but I'm not whining about it. Like, I get it. You know what I mean? She uses they pronoun. Yeah, see? Yeah, that shit, yeah.
Sex is what's between the legs, and gender is what's between the ears, right? It's how we see ourselves on the inside.
Okay.
Very, very well spoken. This is, like, we've heard this a million times, and I think it does a really, there's so much good to be done by being, like, easy to talk about. Or I guess having an easy time talking about it, rather. Like, such a good way of communicating this to a bunch of people who are normies and watching daytime Dr. Phil. You know what I'm saying? That was a good job.
And that's something somebody can't know. Gender is something somebody can't know just by looking at somebody.
Nope, yeah. Because
Your family sucks? Well, that's okay. Umatsa, tell your family to come debate me. They're cowards. All of them at the same time. I'll smash them.
Everyone is going to present and express themselves.
I'll literally yell at
I
your
know,
parents.
It's very confusing, right? Everyone's like, what is going on? But it's really, you know, about us breaking that assumption that we can tell someone's identity, someone's story, their pronouns, even their name, just based on how they look, right?
Yeah. And so how does someone ask? How does somebody clarify?
These are good questions. I'm not going to lie. Dr. Phil maybe is pretty ignorant himself on here, and these are good questions, I think. Like, how does someone ask about pronouns? This is something normies need to know. Hot take. So far, the first 2.5 minutes of this have been good for the trans community. Now, Matt Walsh is going to come on here and ruin a lot of things. But I mean, like, I just think this is good for well-meaning people to know. Like, this probably would help my mom. She kind of watches, I don't know if she watches Dr. Phil, but she watches shit like this, right? Schlock during daytime TV. You know what I mean? Like, this is a good conversation. It helps the moms figure out how to navigate a little bit.
That, Ethan, what's the best way? What's the most comfortable way?
I think for me, to create a safe space for people to share their pronouns, I will say, hi, my name is Ethan. I use he or they pronouns. What about you?
I think it's really important for us to recognize other people's pronouns because, again, we can't make that assumption, but for so many people who are cisgender, meaning that you do identify with the gender that you were assigned at birth, you're not transgender or not non-binary, I think a lot of people don't even question their pronouns because we already
True.
use them and it's already assumed correctly.
That is true.
But for so many trans and non-binary people, that isn't often assumed correctly. So we need to take the time to get to know people.
Cisgender, it says adjective that describes a person whose gender identity matches or aligns with the gender he or she was assigned at birth. Now, this would be what has been traditional for centuries, right? Why does it need a term?
You know, if we don't use
Why
that
does it need a
term-
term? That's such a boomer fucking question. Why do you need a term for anything? Like, this term existed, like, prior, you know what I mean? You down with other people's pronouns? Sure am, dude. I mean, everything, like, needs defining, I suppose, right? Everything.
then we end up saying maybe real men or normal men
True.
or regular men, right? Or we just say men, and then we say maybe transgender men, right? And the thing is that we need to realize that trans women are women, trans men are men too. And so we just want to have a term for that privilege, that assumption that your gender identity is going to match the one that you were.
This right here, this is a hard concept for normies to get around. I was thinking about my mom, and she would not be. She would be like really confused by this because she's too busy like thinking like how to feel about the visage that she's looking at. But yeah, I think this is a good one. I honestly love Addison's vibe. I do too. They went viral. Wasn't it on TikTok a while back or just Twitter in general? For some sort of it was like a modeling shoot or something.
Assigned at birth.
All right. And then transgender, adjective, describes a person whose gender identity does not match or align with the gender they were assigned at birth. And then non-binary describes a person whose gender identity does not fit into the traditional binary of man or woman. And that term can be abbreviated to, and how do you pronounce that?
NB.
NB.
NB, yeah.
Okay. And explain that.
For transgender
Yeah, he's
people who
lost, dude. Dr. Phil is lost.
are assigned a sex at birth, and when we grow up, you know, when there's a mismatch of
Yeah, they
how
seem
we
familiar
view
because
ourselves and
Addison
how
went-
society
yeah.
views us, then we can choose to, you know, either medically transition or just socially transition or both.
My name is Matt Walsh, and I've written a book called Johnny the Walrus. This book is about identity and imagination. He identifies as a walrus, and his mom's a little silly. She takes it seriously and thinks he really is a walrus. So
Sky Common, thanks for the 50 biddies.
she went on her phone, and there are people telling
Mighty
her
is
that this
Quinn,
isn't
thanks for the
truth.
raid.
He's really a walrus.
Welcome.
And his mother takes him to the doctor to have him surgically transitioned and gets him walrus hormone pills.
Jesus.
And then eventually tries to drop him off at a zoo to live with other walruses. Not only topping the Amazon charts, my book has taken the world by storm.
You're saying that there should
This is
be
an edited segment
no
quite a bit.
construct of gender, just sex. You're either male or female.
Right.
And
Dude, his body language already, he's just like, I'm recoiling in disgust.
someone
What a baby, dude.
feeling in a mental, emotional way that they don't identify with the sex that they have been biologically created as and assigned at birth based on their genitalia. If they don't feel that way, that there's no construct that describes that, experiences that.
Well, that's got nothing to do with the reality. So you can feel however you want. I mean, I could sit here and say that I feel like a tomato plant, but that doesn't mean
He's helicopter joke. He's just using the helicopter joke. Like, what?
that I'm actually in those things. So your self-perception, you can have whatever self-perception you want.
Dr. Phil was the downfall of Jimmy Concepts, conceptual James Lindsay. And I feel like Matt Walsh is not going to fare very well either.
But you can't expect me to take part in that self-perception or to take part in this kind of charade, this theatrical
One
production.
joke.
You don't get your own pronouns, just like you don't get your own prepositions or your own adjectives. You know, it's like if I were to tell
You do get your own adjectives. You literally do. Adjectives are quite literally personalized. What do you mean? What? Adjectives literally describe individuals. I don't know what to say.
you My adjectives are handsome and brilliant. And whenever you're talking about me, you have to describe me as handsome and brilliant because that's how I identify. Makes no sense. You don't get your own pronouns. That's grammar. That's language.
That's grammar. That's language. I have like I can't think of a more embarrassing bad argument than language is static. Pepe hands. I have a few nouns for Matt, but they're all TOS. True. Language can't change. Meanwhile, the internet exists, changing language by the second. I don't know why these language purists even try. This is just a terrible weak nuts argument.
So you think it's a delusion? Someone is self-delusional.
Yeah, I think it's delusion.
Any corn whales in chat that can spare one for Storm on Parade? Maybe so.
It could be mental illness. It could be it's a lot of different things. With children, there's also.
Do you think it would be useful to misgender and misname Matt in the conversation? Of course not. It doesn't make any sense to misgender or misname anybody, because then everyone's just like, who? Demi girl, thanks for following.
Just a basic confusion that all kids have. That's why when you hear a parent say, "Oh, my 4-year-old son came to me and said that I'm a girl now." And so that's what I'm gonna raise him at.
Is at it? Wait, but these people are like, yeah, I said it at 4, but I also say it at 24 and 44 and 54 and 84. I am trans. They're just saying it. It's not to call something like this a delusion is so wild to me. These people feel this way and are like, yeah, that makes me feel better. How can you be against it? Okay, cool, do it. I don't give a shit. Why would I give a shit? I honestly couldn't give. This might hurt a lot of your feelings, okay, chat? Hot take. I don't give a shit what you look like or how you dress or what you call yourself or how you determine that, or I don't give a shit. You're just a person, and if you're cool, you're cool. If you're not, you're not. I do whatever else. That's for you. That's you stuff. I'm not dressing you. I couldn't possibly be involved in this conversation. Ariel, thanks so much for going to Storm on Parade. I couldn't possibly care about the little aspects about you. Whatever, however you I don't want to look. I'm talking to people is like buying a cake. I don't want to bake every cake I've ever seen. You know what I mean? I don't want to be involved in the process of you becoming who you are. Just tell me who the fuck you are, and that's what you are. I don't need input. Why do these people think they get input? Matt Walsh and people like him, like transphobes, are basically just backseat gaming people's genders and lives. It's just such a weird, limp dick thing to do. It really makes no sense. Chat, what kind of cake are you? You're red velvet cake? Ooh, I might slurp you up. It's not hard, Annie. I don't feel like I'm actually doing anything. It's really easy to be a great ally. I don't feel like I'm doing anything. I'm just sitting here and being like, you're fucking stupid. Why do you care? Who would give a shit? In the grand scheme of things, why does this matter? We have other things we can talk about. Let people dress and act and be who they want to be. I couldn't possibly take umbrage with what Addison looks like or anybody else looks like.
As a girl. No, you're a 4-year-old. I have 4 kids. When a 4-year-old boy comes to you and says, "Oh, I'm a girl," here's a good follow-up question. What is a girl? Ask him what he means by that. What do you mean by girl? And when you ask him that, here's what he'll tell you. He will tell you what he really means is that he wants to do some of the things that girls do.
So let him. Let him. Boom. Easy.
Play with the dollhouse.
Then play with the dollhouse.
He likes the color pink.
Then wear pink. But here's the thing. Even if it was just, I like some girl things, which is not the case. Even if it was, though, you're still against that. That's interesting. You're still against that level of self-expression. Just, I like girl stuff. Whatever girl stuff happens to be. Surprised. Matt Walsh shocked to find out 4-year-olds don't have the language necessary to describe innate senses of their physical existence. They simply don't have the language for it at 4, so I guess they must be wrong forever.
That's fine. Play with the dollhouse. But you're still a boy. And that's a question I would like to throw out to other members of the panel. Actually, because just like the 4-year-old can't answer what is a girl, well, this is one of the problems with this left-wing gender ideology, is that no one who espouses it can even tell you what these words mean. It's like, what is a woman?
Well-
Can you tell me what a woman is?
No, I can't. Because it's not for me to say. Womanhood
That's like just such a good question
looks different for everybody.
and a
What
good
do
answer.
you define a woman as?
An adult
Adult human female
human female.
every time.
And what does a female mean?
Well,
how
that's
do you define a female?
someone with female reproductive organs.
What if they get their female reproductive organs taken out? What if they weren't born with them? Blah, blah, blah. I mean, this is just so easy. It's just lazy. It's so lazy.
Okay.
Someone who's, here's the thing. When you're female, it goes right down to your bones, your DNA. So that's why if someone dies,
Okay.
we could dig up their bones 100 years from now. We have no idea what they believed in their head, but we can tell what sex they were
Well, that's their sex. Okay, cool.
because it's ingrained in every fiber of their being.
Interesting. So I'm trying to understand. Your definition is that a woman is someone who is female, you said, right?
Correct.
Gotcha.
Is
Okay.
a biological female.
So what happens if we have maybe someone who is female, identifies as a woman, right? Cisgender woman, right? As you just explained, maybe doesn't have the ability to reproduce. Maybe doesn't have those organs that you're talking about that are reproductive organs.
Yeah, every time it comes down to this, and this is the same fucking circular bullshit. Because there is no real answer to this. That's why it's a topic. Because the answer turns out to be like the simplest answer for everybody to just live life is people get to do whatever they want with their bodies and how they look and their lives, and they get to be addressed how they'd like to be. And that's just how we're going to live. Like, there's really no other option. There is no other option. Trans people exist. That's it. It's the whole thing. They get to exist. You don't get to not have them exist how they want to.
I have answered the question. You stood up here and said trans women are women.
Yes.
Tell me what you mean. What is a woman?
Womanhood is something that, just as Ethan explained, I cannot define because I am not
But
myself.
you used the word, so what did you mean when you said trans women are women if you don't know what it means?
Right? So here's the thing. So I do not define what a woman is because I do not identify as a woman. Womanhood is something that
Matt Walsh was like, what? But you got long hair. You got long hair and you're wearing sort of a lady dress. What?
is an umbrella term. It includes people
That describes what?
people who identify as a woman.
Identify as what?
As a woman.
What is that?
Was to each their own. Each woman, each man, each person is going to have a different relation with their own gender identity and
True!
define it differently.
That doesn't-
And so
I'm not
trans
asking for
women are women too.
Okay.
And you want to hold on.
Clap.
Again, trans women are women.
Claps.
You
Listen,
won't even
listen,
tell me
you
what the
wanna-
That's so easy. Matt is so stupid, bro.
word means, though. So
You
that's
want to
the
reduce
problem.
women, you want to reduce men down to maybe just their genetics, our genitals,
No.
our chromosomes, right? That's what you're
What
saying.
you want to
is that
do is
that's what we
what
are
you
at the end of the day.
want to do is
What you want to do is
appropriate women. You
appropriate
want to appropriate
women.
womanhood
Wait, but they're not a woman. What do you mean appropriate it?
Okay.
and turn it into basically a costume that can be worn.
Appropriate? Wait, what? They're not a woman, though. They said they don't identify as such.
I'm really concerned about what's going on in schoolrooms across the country.
Matt said, I'm not happy with that. That's
entire
true.
gender pronoun situation makes me feel very upset.
Oh, wow. Oh, shit. Some guy named probably Gary is very upset by the gender pronoun situation.
People may think that if you don't want to use the preferred pronouns, that you're against gay people. This is 100% untrue.
If you don't want to use preferred pronouns, you're against gay people. They don't even know what the fuck they're talking about, dude. The gays. You're against the gays because you don't want to use... What? Dude, for them to find out that straight trans people exist must blow their fucking mind, dude.
I am a
Thanks
huge
for the 50 biddies.
advocate
Thanks,
for
Nick.
gay people,
This
trans
idiot
people,
breeder should shut
and
the
the
hell up.
like.
Stacy and I both have children in the same school district.
I learned that the teachers in my children's school were asking for the kids'
Wait, are these
preferred
people on
pronouns
opposite
in the
sides?
classroom. When I heard
hope
about
so.
this, it
Hope
was
Gary's good.
extremely upsetting.
Last year, my son was given a homework assignment. I gave an example of a child not identifying with the gender that they're born
Nope,
with.
not
This
good.
is an example of homework that was given to my 8-year-old son.
Oh,
If
no.
a student is unsure of their
Are these guys gonna fuck? Are these two gonna fuck? Because they're both clearly divorced.
place in the gender spectrum, or is experimenting with different forms of gender presentation, School
shit.
uniforms can present a real challenge.
Oh no, we didn't learn about that in the 80s when I was in high school, so I guess it must be wrong.
What is gender spectrum?
What is it? I don't know about it, so my kids certainly shouldn't be able to learn about it. Oh man.
That's a great question.
A great question. What is the gender spectrum? I couldn't possibly stand to just learn what the term is. Instead, I must think, bad! It's bad, because I don't know it. It confuses me. It's hard. It's hard, chat.
My son was really confused. I feel like I'm ambushed because now I'm explaining to my son. He asked me, what does sexist mean? As a parent, I felt
You feel ambushed.
trapped.
Trapped? Bro, why don't you just fucking... I don't know what your name is. I'm going to call you Gary until further notice. Hey, Gare. Do you think you could simply... Look, I don't mean to be toxic, but can you be a fucking man about it for a second? Can we just, you know, since you're a big cis boy, and we hate the pronoun, can you be a fucking man about this for a goddamn second and just go like, I don't know, let's find out together. Huh? I don't know, do you? I don't know. Maybe admitting you don't know a thing and then just openly and honestly learning about it with your son, bonding a little bit over the knowledge. That's pretty much all you'd need to do. Can you parents stop being little bitches challenge? Let's try that out. Parents, how about you stop being little bichachos every once in a while?
I felt I had to explain these concepts to my son. I felt like I was whittling away his innocence.
His innocence? What's the innocence being whittled away? What do you mean? Wait, what? He's 8. What innocence? Wait, he can't find out the gays exist? What the fuck?
This year, my 12-year-old daughter had a science teacher.
Your 12-year-old daughter is trying to fuck her crush right now, okay? That is a fact. 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, like, as soon as they hit puberty, dude, they trying to fuck, definitely. Stop pretending like your kid doesn't understand what fucking sex and gender is, man. Come on. A 12-year-old is battling with their sexuality and gender right now. They're trying to figure out who the fuck they are. They're 12. Being 12 and starting into puberty, those are the weirdest fucking years of your life, dude. You know how fucking awkward I was at 13, 14, 15? I didn't know what the fuck was going on. Maybe less 15, but definitely 12 through 14. What an awkward period of life, right? Because you're not a kid anymore. You still like some of the stuff that you liked when you were a kid, right? But you're kind of like, you're the tween, so you're not quite a teenager. You're kind of in middle school. You're not allowed to do some of the stuff, but some of your older friends are doing some stuff. Like, it's just a weird part of time. And then you're developing at different stages with everybody else. And then, I mean, forbid that this hopefully this 12-year-old isn't also trans, because then they're going through even more shit. Imagine, if you will, and I'm sure chat doesn't have to imagine very hard. Imagine, if you will, being an awkward 12-year-old and also going through a gender crisis. And then having no support from your father, Gary, who surprisingly got his balls to work enough to birth you.
Ask the class about their preferred gender pronouns.
I don't want a teacher talking to my child about gender pronouns.
Her ramble was just a gorilla.
Who would you like talking to your child about gender pronouns?
It is not appropriate. It's
What's not appropriate?
crossing a line.
What's the line?
It's unacceptable.
What's acceptable? Why are we... Again, these people need to be put them all on a cruise and just send that cruise into the ocean. That's what I'm saying. Send them out on a cruise together. They can go spend the next few months out on a cruise together, enjoy each other's company. We will take care of the rest of like governance, and then they can come back and we'll have everything sorted out, and they can just enjoy the fruits of our labor, chat. This is unacceptable! My kid came in when I was watching Hannah stream and misgendered her and asked questions. Took 30 seconds to explain it to her. It's not hard. Yeah, it takes no time at all. Yeah. I'm actually surprised they misgendered Hannah. Hannah's particularly femme at this point. Did Gary come from Vault 108? Oh, buddy.
This is
Gary
a
joke.
parent-child issue, not a teacher.
You just said you didn't want to talk about it. It's a parent-child issue, but your first umbrage was, I don't even know what that is. How can you say that you want to be the ones to arbitrate what is taught to your children when you can't even be fucked to learn the concepts to teach the children? Like, what the fuck? It's like having a flat tire and being like, no, I don't want a mechanic to do the flat tire. I don't want to pay for a mechanic. And be like, okay, you change the flat tire. And be like, I don't know how to change a flat tire. It's like, well, the tire needs to be changed, bro. You kind of got to pick one. You got a friend?
Teacher-child issue.
I wanted my kids to have nothing to do with it. I had to pull both of my kids out of this school district.
I've decided not to pull my children out of the school district.
His
but I'm
children.
fighting for change.
His children.
I've been attending school board meetings for about a year now. What's happening across the country is teachers could get fired if they use the wrong gender pronoun. That just seems wrong.
No, it really doesn't seem wrong.
It's my mission in life.
It's not just if they fucking flippantly, like, accidentally use the wrong pronoun for somebody. It's not like they're firing people for fucking, like, hey, is Shirley in here? Is she in here? And then Shirley goes, actually, it's they, them. And then the teacher gets fired. That doesn't happen, dude. That's not what's going on. It's about being a fucking asshole to kids. That gets you fired. This makes me want to have kids so I can throw Rotten Tomatoes at parents like this. Yeah. I don't want to have kids because I don't find it ethical right now. I think the state of the world is just like it's not where I want it to be for kids. I'd feel kind of bad setting somebody up.
To protect my children, and however I need to do that, I will.
What Matt and I and a group of us are doing is we're working to have the school board removed completely. A lot of people I know, a lot of parents.
Dude, they're definitely fucking, right? He's the little spoon, and she's the big spoon. And look at them. They're both definitely divorced.
Are afraid to speak up.
24 and have 2 sons?
And I'm
That's
not
too many.
Arlo, how old
I'm
is
sure
the
you
baby
love
now?
them deeply. That's too many.
Oh, Sparrow's actually going to be 4 in February.
Has Sparrow decided as...
Oh, a gender?
Yes.
Oh, that's a great question. Sparrow is in a point of learning and exploration with a lot of things, including gender. Language with children at 4 is very, they're figuring it out. And
I literally said the same thing. Thank you very much for agreeing with me. I feel very smart now.
So currently, Sparrow uses he for everyone. No, it doesn't matter what their pronouns are, and we mentioned it. They just call everyone he, they don't conjugate it correctly. They don't use him or his or anything. Just he for everything. So we joke that he is Sparrow's preferred pronoun because that's what they use for everyone. As far as for themselves, though, they're not coming consistently saying, I would like, I want to be a boy or a girl, or I feel like I'm non-binary. We don't have heavy, in-depth, overt communications. It's not like every morning I wake them up and say, all right, what's your gender today? Hoping they'll finally give me an answer.
True.
So it doesn't come up like that.
Okay, you decided this was important to leave unspecified, undetermined. Why?
I would say, just for me, and this is not, I'm not answering for Arlo here, whose pronouns I didn't catch, but I think they, them, I didn't see. I would say the best reason to not necessarily provide a gender for your child and just sort of go neutral. Although I don't really have any problem with what you do. Like if your kid comes out and you're like, oh, it's a boy, I think that's okay as long as you are willing to, if the kid corrects you, be fine with that. Like you gotta chill out if your kid goes in a different way, and if they change the name that you gave them, that's what they get to do. It just is what it is. So, if you are going to gender your kids, and if not, I think it's fine. I think it's a good way for someone, especially because it looks like Arlo also went through some kind of discovery of gender. It's a good way to mitigate any possibility of It's caring about your kid and being like, and having empathy and being like, I do not want them to go through the experience that I went through for that, or the experience I see my friends go through, or anything like that. And if they have any questions, I'll try very hard to answer them, and they can, my kid can choose whatever path they'd like, and I think that's a good thing. And I have no problem with that either. The only thing I ever have a problem with, insofar as gender is concerned, is when you really just hammer home and you force somebody to be a gender, right? Like this is the big lie that people like Matt Walsh say, is like trans people are indoctrinating kids and forcing them to be trans. And it's like, that is the exact antithesis of what transness even is and transparenting even is. I'm sure that statistically you might be right on one count. I'm sure there's one set of parents who are trying to do this to their kid somewhere statistically on planet Earth. Sure. But I don't think the 1 or 2 cases that exist out of the 8 billion people that exist, I don't think that mitigates or makes less important the gender experiences of, trans kids today in any sense whatsoever. Super silly. Like, they always appeal to like some sort of fringe hypothetical case that is plausible, right? And be like, well, what if they force gender? It's like, you're literally doing the thing when you say all kids should be cis. Like, what do you mean? Clearly not all kids are cis. Clearly. It's not debatable. It's not even close to debatable. Trans people exist. So if you force them to have a certain spot in the gender discourse, if you're like, you're a boy, you got pee-pee, you're a boy, you're doing the thing that you say is bad to do by indoctrinating your child into believing that they are the gender they are not. Now, Walsh is wearing heels. Hey, dudes can wear heels.
Because of the fact that gender is so social and it is such a social construct. Now, we say we shouldn't interact with one another differently because of our genders. Like, everyone deserves the same respect and treatment. But it has been scientifically proven that children are interacted with very differently based on whether they are assumed to be a boy or a girl.
That's true.
Girl children are held more. Boy children are given,
This is
mechanical
true.
toys more often. All of these kind of examples and anecdotes.
I actually do think, by the way, the lack of physical intimacy given to like parents to boys, specifically fathers to I'll say sons, I guess in this case. We'll speak from a cis perspective since that's mine. I do think that men were taught not to be warm to one another, and continue to be so. And I think that really leads to intimacy issues in men. I have definitely overcome a lot of those things over the course of time. For some reason, it didn't stick nearly as much. I think it's because my mom is really, really like, she's a big time hugger and physical lover. She like really loves to be like she's a little person. She likes to be hugged and squeezed and stuff, and she's always like squeezing us and saying cutesy shit. She's kind of adorable, but even if it fucking wears on you. So I think I avoided like some of that, but I see it in I definitely saw it growing up, especially in my cis friends that were dudes. Like, so many issues, especially with hindsight, so many issues with like intimacy. And I don't mean like sexual intimacy between people. I mean like just personal intimacy, like being able to open up to somebody, being able to share physical space with somebody else without being like, no homo, bro. That kind of stuff. Super, super. If you grew up in these spaces like I did, I would be very shocked to find out that you consider men capable of experiencing validating physical touch, especially if it's from a woman that they are not like related to. Holy shit, do they read the wrong signals there? Like, if you cuddle with a guy once, sometimes if they're not like adjusted, that could lead to them catching feelings just because they think if a woman validates them. And again, this is from a cis straight perspective, but if women validate cis het dudes, like, sometimes they just go be I can't say it. They be S-wording all over the place. They be big imping, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, and it happens. And part of it's not dudes' faults, like, because they were deprived of this sort of thing growing up, right? And so they have a strong reaction to it when it does happen. But also, it's more of a societal systemic problem, right? It's not like and dudes have to be able to chill on that shit, but Wood smiles at cis guy. It happens a lot sometimes. Yeah. Jake's calling me out. I mean, it happens, guys. Yeah. They be imping. I was like that in my 20s. Yeah, it happens, dude. I was definitely when I was a teenager into my early 20s, I had like a big breakup, and I remember like how I contextualized relationships and any future relationships after that, and how I communicated to some people after that. Like, there are just so many things that kid, even though I was in my 20s, my early 20s, like 20, 21, somewhere there, he didn't know what the fuck, like, emotionally, that kid didn't, like, that version of me that existed, hell no, dude. He could not handle the way he should have been able to handle it, right? But I can now. The face when I want to platonically cuddle but men. Yeah, well, that's why we would platonically cuddle the ladies. That's the good stuff.
And I felt it was important for Sparrow to get the chance to figure themselves out without all of that pressure, intervention, and programming.
Men do not get complimented. That's actually true.
We should just keep the dialogue going and hopefully find some middle
Yeah, it
ground.
happens that way too, Jay.
Arlo, you mentioned that you don't have your child discussing pronouns or figuring out their pronouns yet. And yet in school, our kids are being asked what their pronoun is. I'm confused about how that works. And then
But your kid's 8, not 4.
there's always this fluidity right around what pronoun you are each day. So it's constantly changing. How confusing.
I think
For
what it
kids.
is. Oh, sorry. I think what it is that I sympathize with the
Oh,
hurt
there it
and
is.
distress
Uses they,
that I
them
sense
pronouns.
from you all. I also wouldn't want my child to learn things from their teachers at school that were topics I was uncomfortable with or I didn't know how I'd want to talk about them. Your children are going to need to know how to navigate a world in which non-binary and
True.
transgender people exist.
True!
This is a
It's just pragmatic.
great conversation to have at home, out of the school. This should not be part of the curriculum.
Why?
We're out of time, but I
Why?
thank
You're wearing your fucking yarmulke, bro.
everyone for your thoughts and ideas and for
You can shove your Jewish faith down my throat in public, but we can't talk about gender?
remaining civil about the conversation.
Dispute over gender pronouns.
I don't identify exclusively with being a man or a woman.
I use they and them as
Wait, why is this so high strung?
my pronouns.
Listen to this. This is hardcore. Boom.
Your own pronouns?
You think it's a delusion.
In school, our kids are being asked what their
That's it? Okay. Well, that's the end of the Dr. Phil segment. Yeah, I got to say, this is good. I know they give the right-wing perspective too, but those people always come across as crazy in these settings. Because I think maybe, I think they might be a little crazy, guys. I think they might be. Yeah, I think from a purely pragmatic perspective, we all understand, right? Even the Republicans understand. Trans and non-binary people exist. They just do. There's nothing you can do about it, even if some of them would try to do something about it. It is what it is, right? Trans and non-binary people exist, and they're often very dope. I don't understand what problem you could have with this group of people. It's interesting. We have to go through this right now. In 20 years, I really don't think this is going to be a conversation. In 5 years, this might not be a conversation. I mean, it might be still a little bit of a conversation, but I mean, it's kind of like the cat's out of the bag, dude. People are just living how they want to live. You can't make them not live that way. People just want to be happy in whatever way they see fit. And I don't know, if you're an American and you're a patriot and you believe in the freedom of expression and the freedom of speech and just freedom in general, to be anti-trans is to be anti-freedom, and that's in the most simple terms. Literally being trans is the most simple expression, or the most simple way that one person expresses themselves at the core of themselves. Whoever you are is who you are. Like you can't tweak that, right? It all comes out in the wash. You are who you are, and I think there's a lot of cool shit to be learned from this community. If you're on the outside looking in, or if you're trying to be supportive and stuff like I try to be. There's a lot to be learned, like taught, right? There's so much information. It's a very interesting way to learn that however your life organizes itself. It's the correct version of you at any given point. Like tomorrow, maybe something about your identity will be different, but right now, today, as long as you have a handle on who you are, or you're trying to have a handle on who you are, I think you're on the right path, man. I think that's that good shit.